Shae Waldron, who was hired by the Chicago Bears yesterday, gets right to work, already starting to interview some of his former staff from the Seattle Seahawks. What positions could those guys be up for? We'll talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Shae Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, quick update video for you guys today. Not too long, but I do want to give you guys the news as it pertains to the Chicago Bears. Anytime there's news drop, we drop. You guys know how it goes around here. Shae Waldron has already started setting up interviews to fill out his staff here with the Chicago Bears, and he's starting off with familiar faces from the Seattle Seahawks that were also on his staff. He already has interviews set up with Chad Morton, Sanjay Lal, and Kerry Joseph, amongst some others as well. When you look at it, Morton was the Seahawks run game coordinator and running backs coach overall. He's going to come in to interview probably for that same position. Sanjay Lal was the passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. Again, probably interviewing for that same position. And Joseph, Kerry Joseph, he served as the wide receiver coach, assistant wide receiver coach, and the assistant quarterbacks coach under Shae Waldron. So it's expected for those guys to be kind of interviewing for the same positions here with the Chicago Bears, which kind of makes sense. Again, we know that Shae Waldron is going to want some familiarity where he can have some. Bringing in guys that he already knows, they can come right in, kind of set up and determine how they want to do things with the Chicago Bears. But bringing over staff members that have already held those similar positions at his last job, it just helps the learning curve of that overall. Now, on today's earlier daily episode, I did talk about, maybe the chance of Zach Robinson coming onto this staff and, because they come from that McVay coaching tree, how that can help that shorthand. I would still expect maybe a couple of the candidates interviewing for the offensive coordinator position to maybe come over here in different positions. We'll see what happens with that. But Shae Waldron's at least starting with people on his former staff, and this makes the most sense. Is it anything that's abnormal across the NFL? You'll see a lot of this. And so the fact that he's setting up interviews with those guys is probably also not – he's familiar with them, but to bring them in, maybe interview with Matt Eberflus, sit down, talk to Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they're involved in this to a degree. Believe Shae Waldron's going to have full autonomy to determine who his staff is going to end up being when it comes down to it. And we'll see. It also looks like Greg Olsen was interviewed. He's the Seahawks quarterbacks coach. He was also interviewed for the offensive coordinator vacancy. So we'll see if he's also coming over to the Chicago Bears in that same staff. But like I said, don't overlook the chance of Zach Robinson ended up filling that role when it comes down to it. Seems like Greg Olsen is really kind of focused on looking at other teams at offensive coordinator positions. Since there are so many opened around the NFL, maybe before determining or deciding to stay on with Waldron under a similar role. That's where Zach Robinson could come in at that. But this like I said, really good idea. The fact that Shae Waldron's hitting the ground running, trying to already get his staff locked in to see what they can do there, as the Bears themselves are going over to start kind of focusing on their defensive coordinator position. And so we'll see what happens with that. And then in other news, this is not really Chicago Bears related, but looks like our former offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, already has an interview for another job, potentially interviewing for the Oakland Raiders and their offensive coordinator position. So that'll be interesting to see if that's what happens. Because listen, you're hiring Luke. I'll honestly say, I did not expect Luke Getsy to get another go at the offensive coordinator position right away, just because of how stagnant his offense was. But I mean, he did have years of his running game being ranked number 1 and number 2 in rushing in his first 2 years as an offensive coordinator and play caller at the NFL level. So maybe the Raiders are willing to take maybe a bet on that. That it'll be interesting if the Bears do trade with the Raiders for the number 1 overall pick, and if that all happens, and then he gets another young quarterback. Hey, listen, I'm glad I'm not a Raiders fan. Raiders fans, if you tuned in watching this for any type of insight on Luke Getsy, bear down, pray, because it's going to be hard and whoa. That was almost a pause moment if I said what I was going to say, but it's going to be a long ride with Luke Getsy, and a difficult one at that, with Luke Getsy as your offensive coordinator. If that's the route the Las Vegas Raiders ended up going. I think I said Oakland Raiders. Listen, I'm old. It's ingrained in me. Oakland Raiders is just ingrained. The Las Vegas Raiders, it is what it is. But so that's the update, man. Let me know what you guys think as far as Shae Waldron really trying to fill out his staff as quickly as possible And do you think this is the right move to kind of bring over some of those same guys from those same positions from the Seattle Seahawks? But as always, make sure you're following the show at Shae Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.